Did you know that just one ChatGPT query uses like 10 times the electricity of a simple Google search?
Really?
Yeah, 10 times.
Wow.
It's pretty wild when you think about how much we're all using AI these days.
Right.
And, it's interesting because it's got some of these major tech companies doing something pretty surprising.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
They're turning to nuclear power.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, and before we get into all of that, if you're enjoying these insights, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future episodes.
Yeah, it really is a fascinating shift. The rise of data centers and AI is creating this huge demand for energy.
Yeah, it's unlike anything we've seen before.
Yeah.
It's like we're powering entire cities just with data centers now.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And the Department of Energy, they predict that global electricity demand could surge by up to 75% by 2050.
Okay.
Largely driven by these data centers and AI.
Yeah.
So how does this impact you?
Hmm.
Well, think about it, your everyday life, from streaming movies to working from home. All of that is feeding this energy monster.
Yeah, that's true. And that's where the need for reliable and constant energy sources comes in.
Yeah.
And that need has become even more urgent given recent global events, like the Russia-Ukraine war.
Right.
Really highlighted the vulnerabilities of relying on a limited number of energy suppliers.
It's like the world woke up and realized, wait a second, we need a more secure and independent energy strategy.
Yeah.
Especially with AI becoming so central to everything.
Right. And speaking of AI,
Yeah.
the launch of ChatGPT really, threw gasoline on the fire.
Totally.
Suddenly everyone's using it and those energy demands are through the roof.
Yeah.
ChatGPT's popularity definitely accelerated the push for reliable and clean energy sources.
Right.
And that's where big tech's predicament comes in.
Okay.
They were relying heavily on renewable energy credits, but those aren't enough to keep up with this exponential growth.
So it's like they were buying these green certificates to offset their energy use.
Exactly.
But now they're realizing it's not a long-term solution.
No, not at all.
And what's really interesting is that they're turning to nuclear power,
Right.
a source that's been, let's say, controversial for a while.
Yeah, that's right. Solar and wind power are fantastic for reducing emissions.
Yeah.
But they're intermittent.
Right.
They can't provide that 2047 power that nuclear can.
Right.
And nuclear, despite the historical baggage, is an emission-free source of energy.
So are we witnessing a nuclear renaissance fueled by the demands of AI? What do you think? If you're finding this discussion as mind-blowing as I am, be sure to give this episode a like.
It's certainly a possibility. We're seeing companies like Amazon investing over $500 million in nuclear projects across multiple states.
Wow. And remember 3 Mile Island.
Oh, yeah.
Microsoft is collaborating with Constellation Energy to actually reopen that facility.
That's right.
Wow.
Bill Gates' company TerraPower is developing a nuclear plant in Wyoming, and Google is partnering with the startup Kairos Power for advanced reactors.
It seems like everybody's getting in on this.
Yeah, even Meta, the parent company of Facebook, is aiming for 1 to 4 gigawatts of new energy capacity through nuclear power.
So it's not just one company, it's an industry-wide trend.
It really is.
It seems like big tech is placing a huge bet on nuclear power being the only way to meet the energy demands of an AI-powered future.
Yeah.
But they're not just relying on traditional reactors, right?
Right.
This brings us to the intriguing world of small modular reactors, or SMRs.
Yeah, SMRs represent a potential evolution in nuclear technology.
Okay.
They're much smaller than traditional reactors, producing around 300 megawatts of energy compared to the typical 1 gigawatt output of the larger plants.
Wow.
Their modular design means they can be assembled off-site and transported,
Oh, wow.
significantly cutting down on construction costs and timelines.
Okay, so I'm getting that SMRs are smaller and faster to build, but are there any downsides to this new and improved nuclear power?
Of course, no technology is without its challenges. As of right now, there are no operational SMRs in the United States.
Oh, really?
The technology is still in development.
So we're still in the early stages. And I imagine the regulatory hurdles are pretty significant.
Yes, the approval process is expected to be lengthy.
Okay.
Another point of debate is whether SMRs alone can meet our energy needs. Some experts believe a combined approach with both SMRs and traditional reactors is necessary. While SMRs are cheaper to build initially, they also produce less power individually.
Right.
So the question becomes, how do we scale up nuclear power quickly and effectively enough to keep pace with the energy demands of AI and everything else? It's a complex issue with no easy answers.
It definitely adds another layer to the conversation.
Yeah.
And let's not forget the elephant in the room, the historical anxiety surrounding nuclear power.
Right.
Accidents like Chernobyl, 3 Mile Island, Fukushima have left a lasting mark on public perception.
That's an important point. Those events, amplified by misinformation, have shaped how people view nuclear power, even if the reality of certain incidents like 3 Mile Island is far less catastrophic than often portrayed.
It's a prime example of how fear and misinformation can cloud judgment and hinder progress, even when data suggests that modern nuclear power is a safe and viable option.
Right.
But in today's information age,
Yeah,
we have more access to data than ever before.
that's true.
People can research and understand the advancements in nuclear safety and technology.
That access to information is critical to moving beyond fear-based narratives and engaging in a more informed discussion about the potential of nuclear energy.
For sure. But it's not just about safety. There's also the issue of cost.
Right.
Nuclear power has always been expensive, hasn't it?
It has, but with big tech stepping in with their deep pockets and long-term vision, they see nuclear as a worthwhile investment.
Yeah.
They understand that nuclear reactors can operate for 60 to 80 years,
Wow.
providing a stable and consistent energy source over the long haul.
That's amazing.
But can they make it cost-effective enough to compete with other energy sources? That remains to be seen. But the sheer scale of big tech's investment suggests they believe it's possible, and they have a strong incentive to figure it out. The energy demands they face are unlike anything we've seen before.
That's right.
Energy demand in the U.S. is projected to increase by 20% in the next decade alone.
Wow.
And data centers and AI are the primary drivers.
It's like we're on this runaway train of energy consumption.
Yeah.
And the only way to keep it from derailing is to find a powerful and sustainable energy source.
Absolutely.
Right.
Currently, nuclear power contributes about 20% of U.S. energy use. That share is expected to grow significantly in the coming years, driven by this confluence of factors.
So we had this surge in energy demand, big tech betting big on nuclear power, and a renewed focus on energy security.
Right.
It does feel like we're on the cusp of a significant shift in how we power our world.
It does feel like a turning point.
Yeah.
It does feel like we're at a turning point, but the question is, what does this nuclear resurgence mean for us? You know, for the average person, how will it change our lives?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
On the one hand, we have this potential for cleaner, more abundant energy. But on the other hand, there are those lingering concerns about safety and waste disposal
Right.
that we can't just ignore.
Absolutely. And it's not just about the technology itself, but also about public perception and trust.
Right.
How do we move beyond the fear and misinformation that have plagued nuclear energy for so long?
Yeah. How do we ensure transparency and accountability?
Right. This is where open and honest conversations are so important.
Yeah.
We need to weigh the potential benefits against the risk and make informed decisions about our energy future.
It's a complex issue with no easy answers.
Yeah, it is.
But I think it's important to remember that we're not just talking about keeping the lights on.
Right.
This is about the future of everything.
Exactly.
Our economy, our technology, our environment.
And it's about finding the right balance. We need to be mindful of the potential downsides of nuclear power while also recognizing its potential to address some of the most pressing challenges we face. If this discussion is making you think differently about nuclear power, hit that like button and let us know.
You know, it's interesting how nuclear power was once seen as this futuristic technology, something out of science fiction.
Yeah.
Now it's being considered as a solution to the very real challenges of climate change and an AI-driven world.
Yeah.
It's like we've come full circle.
And it's not just about reviving old technology. There's a lot of exciting innovation happening in the nuclear field.
Really?
We're talking about advanced reactors that are designed to be safer, more efficient, and even produce less waste.
Okay, tell me more about these advanced reactors. What makes them so different?
Well, companies like TerraPower and Kairos Power are developing reactors that use different fuels and cooling systems than traditional reactors.
right.
They have inherent safety features that make meltdowns virtually impossible.
Wow.
And some of these designs are even capable of recycling nuclear waste, reducing the long-term storage problem.
So it's not just about building more of the same old reactors. We're talking about a whole new generation of nuclear technology.
Exactly. And it's not just about power plants. There's even research into using nuclear power for space exploration.
Wow.
Imagine nuclear-powered spacecraft capable of reaching distant planets. It sounds like science fiction, but it could become a reality.
That's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
But for now, let's bring it back down to Earth. Even with these advancements, there's still a lot of work to be done to make nuclear power a viable solution on a large scale.
Yeah.
What are the biggest hurdles we need to overcome?
One of the biggest challenges is the regulatory process.
Oh, okay.
Getting new reactors approved can take years, if not decades.
Really?
We need to streamline the process while still ensuring safety.
Right.
And then there's the issue of public perception. We need to educate people about the realities of modern nuclear technology and address their concerns.
It's going to take a concerted effort from governments, industry, and scientists to build public trust and create a regulatory environment that fosters innovation while prioritizing safety.
Absolutely. And it's not just about technology and regulations. It's
Right.
about values.
Right.
What kind of energy future do we want to create? What are our priorities? Are we willing to make the investments and take the risks necessary to transition to a cleaner, more sustainable energy system?
Those are big questions, and they're not just for experts to answer.
Right.
This is a conversation we all need to be a part of.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really does feel like we're at a crossroads here. The choices we make now about our energy future are going to have a ripple effect, for generations to come.
It's true. And this nuclear resurgence is a powerful example of how, seemingly separate issues like AI and energy, they're actually deeply intertwined.
Yeah.
We can't solve one without considering the other.
And it forces us to re-examine our assumptions about, what the future might hold.
Right.
I remember growing up in the shadow of 3 Mile Island. Nuclear power always had this ominous, almost science fiction feel to it.
Yeah.
But now it's being presented as a potential solution to these very real challenges, of climate change and an AI-powered world.
Yeah.
It's a remarkable shift in perspective.
It is fascinating how perceptions change over time.
Yeah.
And this shift highlights the importance of, staying informed, being open to new information, and challenging those ingrained narratives. It's about moving beyond fear and embracing a more nuanced understanding of complex issues.
Absolutely. And that's where this conversation becomes so crucial.
Yeah.
We need to have these open and honest dialogues about the potential of nuclear energy.
Right.
While also acknowledging, the risks and concerns that come with it.
Transparency and accountability are essential, and that includes engaging with communities, addressing their concerns, and ensuring that the benefits of any energy transition are shared equitably.
Yeah.
It can't just be about profits for big tech. It has to be about creating a sustainable future for everyone.
You've touched on something really important there, this idea of a just transition.
Yeah.
As we explore these new energy sources, we need to make sure that no one is left behind.
Right.
That means, creating jobs, investing in infrastructure, and ensuring that everyone has access to affordable and reliable energy.
It's about creating a future where technology and progress serve humanity, not the other way around.
Right.
And that requires a commitment to ethical considerations, social responsibility, and environmental stewardship.
It's a tall order, but I think it's a challenge we're ready to tackle.
I agree.
And it's not just about governments and corporations.
Yeah.
It's about each of us taking responsibility for the choices we make and the future we want to create. What do you think? Are you feeling optimistic about the possibilities of a nuclear-powered future? Let us know in the comments.
It's an exciting time to be alive, full of challenges and opportunities. And I believe that with knowledge, innovation, and a commitment to collaboration, we can create a future that is both technologically advanced and sustainable.
Well said. And that brings us to the end of our exploration of AI, big tech, and the unexpected resurgence of nuclear power. I hope you found this discussion insightful and thought-provoking.
It's been a pleasure sharing these ideas with you.
If you enjoyed this episode and want to stay ahead of the curve on the most important topics shaping our world, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to leave a like if you found this conversation valuable. Your feedback helps us create even better content.
Thank you for joining us.
Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.